actually. I'm not gonna say any of that. That's spoilers, so cut that out of the video, future Kasera. Hey guys, it's Kasera, and today I'm gonna be doing my June week 1 reading vlog. So, in the month of May, I was in a bit of a reading slump, so I did a lot of rereads, and I'm reading a little bit slower than I typically do. Not the rereads, but my new books. Any new books that I pick up, unless they're like really easy to read books, I've been reading them a lot slower. Because of that, I feel like that's going to be a little bit of a theme in the month of June as well. So just know that going into these vlogs. But if you missed my last reading vlog, I will link it up in the cards for you guys because I did get to a few pretty interesting books. But like always, I'm gonna start out with the books that I'm currently reading. So I have 2 rereads that I'm rolling over from the month of May. The first one is Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire by J.K. Rowling. So this series I'm rereading very slowly. Like I started the reread for this like long before my reading slump started. And I have been reading the illustrated editions and annotating the paperbacks. So obviously the 4th book, which is Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire, is the last illustrated edition. So after I finish this one, then I'll just go straight to just reading the paperbacks and annotating them. But right now I am really enjoying reading the illustrated edition. I'm about halfway through this one so far, but I don't plan on finishing this one until like the end of June, but I will be sharing some illustrations with you guys as we go through it. The other reread that I'm rolling over from May is A Storm of Swords by George R.R. Martin. So I started this series as my audiobook series to reread during the month of May when I really couldn't read like almost anything new. And well, when I read the first 2 books in the series, I can't stop after Clash of Kings. I have to continue on with The Storm of Swords because it's my favorite book in the series. So I'm not super far into it yet, but like always, I'm really enjoying this and I know what happens in this book. So obviously, I'm really excited for all of the crazy stuff that happens in this book because this is probably the most exciting of all of A Song of Ice and Fire books. So I'm really excited to get to all of that also. And then I have one book from my May TBR that I actually started in May, but I didn't end up finishing, and that's Bloodsong by Anthony Ryan. So this is part of my fantasy book series challenge. I was supposed to read the first book in the Raven Shadow trilogy by Anthony Ryan, which the first book is Bloodsong. I have made pretty good progress on it though. I'm right about there now, and I'm really enjoying this. Like, I really like the way this book is going so far. It has a lot of like classic fantasy tropes, but it has beautiful writing also that I'm really enjoying, and I'm excited to see where it goes because it is a different world that so far I'm really interested in. So yeah, I'm excited for this one. And lastly, earlier today as I was driving home, I mentioned that I'm having trouble reading like darker books, even though like that's like my thing. Like I read a lot of dark books, but I'm having trouble reading them right now because I'm reading them a lot slower. So I decided to pick up something a lot lighter and easier to read. So on my way home today, I had a pretty long drive. So I decided to pick up an adult contemporary romance novel. In the month of April, I read The Two Lives of Lydia Bird by Josie and I absolutely loved it. A contemporary romance, but it's deeply emotional and beautifully written. And I wanted that feeling again. So I decided to pick up one day in December because this is the novel that she wrote before that. And this is about 2 people who see each other one day on the bus and basically fall in love at first sight, but they keep looking for each other and they don't find each other until a year later when the main character Lori is supposed to meet her best friend Sarah's new boyfriend, and it turns out to be the guy that she fell in love with at first sight from like a year ago. So it's definitely an interesting concept because there's a little bit of a love triangle there, but at the same time, like, is it really a love triangle? And so far I'm really enjoying it. Like, I feel like Josie Silvers just has a really good voice as an author that works really well for this type of story, and I like all the specific like details that she has in this book, and I'm really enjoying it. And it's just super easy to read and listen to, so I'm pretty far into this one already. Right there, considering I started it today, that's really far into it, and I'm probably gonna finish this one pretty early on in the week. I haven't decided whether I'm gonna continue on this strain of books or really try and read my June TBR. Because like I made my June TBR easy for me with the type of books that I should love, but at the same time, they are not exactly happy books. And apparently I'm into happy books right now, which is like not my thing. Like I'm usually not into happy books, which is why I didn't put more of them on my TBR. So I don't know. Right now, I'm really enjoying that. And I'm excited to see where my other books are going as well. So it is Tuesday, June 2nd, and yesterday I finished One Day in December by Josie Silvers. When I first started this book, I think it was on Sunday, I was super into it. I think part of that was because like I was like really tired. So I read most of this book on Sunday and I really, really loved it. I love Josie Silver's writing style. I love all of the nuances that she puts into her books. Then I finished it on Monday morning, like early Monday morning. The thing is, in the morning, my brain works more than in the evening when I'm tired. So I want, I think, something more ambitious to read maybe in the morning. And this was just kind of like, it was okay. Like, you know what I mean? So like, when I was reading it on Sunday, I was just like, this is a 5-star book. It's so great. And then on Monday, the book itself hadn't changed. Like, it was the same book. It was just as good as it was the day before. But to me, it was like reading like a 3-star book. So I think just like even from day to day, my opinions change based off on how I feel. So I ended up giving this book 4 stars. It was a fun, fast read, and I enjoyed the characters. It's definitely a romantic contemporary novel. I do think her other book, The Two Lives of Lydia Bird, was a lot better than this one, but this one was still fun, so I gave it 4 stars. Like I mentioned yesterday when I was finishing One Day in December, I wanted something a little bit more ambitious to read, so I decided to start Misery by Stephen King, because Stephen King, for some reason, always makes me really think when I read his books. I love Stephen King's writing style. Like, I really love his writing style. He just puts you in the middle of the action right away in this book, and it's just so realistic, and I really like it, and it's a little scary also, like, not gonna lie, but I'm enjoying this right now. So it's Tuesday, June 2nd, and I just finished Misery by Stephen King. I don't really know how I feel about it. It's similar to The Stand in the sense that, like, I can tell that it's technically brilliant. Like, the plot, the execution of the plot, the idea, everything there is technically brilliant. But I didn't enjoy reading this book. Like, I don't know what it is about Stephen King. Occasionally there are books by him that I actually do really enjoy despite the disturbing contents. But he's very realistic in his writing, and I don't always like actually enjoy the books that he writes, even though like I can tell that they're brilliant. When I finished this book, the immediate star rating that popped into my head was 3.75 stars. And the reason for that is because when I do star ratings for books, it's based off of my enjoyment of the books, because at the end of the day, I'm reading these books for enjoyment, and I didn't enjoy reading it. So for those of you who don't know what this book is about an author who gets kidnapped by his biggest fan, who was angry at him for killing off one of his characters whose name is Misery. So she makes him basically rewrite the ending to not have killed off this character, but he can't like pencil it in, like it actually has to make sense. And it's done in a very realistic way. I enjoyed the beginning when it like just jumped you into the action right away. This book kept me reading, it kept me intrigued, but I didn't actually enjoy it while I was reading. I don't know if it's because of the content or if it's because of something else, because like there were scenes in particular that, while gruesome, I enjoyed them, but I don't know, I feel like this book kind of made me uncomfortable in ways that I didn't like. As of right now, I'm gonna give it 3.75 stars. There's a lot about this book that's really great, but if I can't actually enjoy the book, I can't rate it higher than that. This is another one of those books that I feel like, I think later on, when I've had a longer time to ruminate over this book, I might uprate it a little bit. Kind of like Pet Sematary. When I originally rated that book, I gave it 4 stars, but it's now, I consider, my favorite Stephen King book, and I've obviously uprated it to 5 stars since then. I don't know if Misery would end up being a 5-star book for me, because there are a lot of things towards the end that I think are brilliant, like the way that Stephen King structured the ending I really like, but I don't know. Like, I didn't actually enjoy this book. It was definitely an interesting read though. So it's Wednesday, June 3rd, and yesterday when I finished Misery, I decided to pick up a new audiobook, and I wanted to pick up something on my June TBR, and I wasn't really sure what I wanted to pick up, and I'm still kind of like in that phase where I'm not like fully liking all of the new books that I'm reading. So I decided to pick up my reread for the month of June that's on my June TBR, which is An Absolutely Remarkable Thing by Hank Green. It was a really great idea to pick it up because like immediately I was like into this book from the first second that I started listening to it. I really love the main character, April May. She has such a like an interesting personality, and she's not a perfect person. Like she is deeply flawed, but I love her because of her flaws, and I'm really, really enjoying it so far. I'm like halfway through this book, mind you. I started it yesterday. I'm already halfway through it. I cannot stop listening to the audiobook. It's fantastic. And mind you, I knew I was gonna like this book. Like when I picked it up back in 2018, I was a little hesitant about it because I didn't really know what it was gonna be about. I didn't know if I was gonna like Hank Green's writing style, but like it completely surprised me. It was one of my most surprising books of 2018, and I'm really, really enjoying it even now. I will say though, back in 2018, I remember feeling like it felt very realistic because it's kind of about first contact with aliens sort of thing, but it's a very subtle contact. And I just thought it was realistic in the way that people would react to what was going on. Because I feel like a lot of times with sci-fi novels, like with first contact with aliens, people like vastly overreact. Like I always feel like people vastly overreact to it. So I remember back in 2018, the more subtle reactions that are in An Absolutely Remarkable Thing made sense to me. But in 2020, with the events and things that are happening now, I feel like people probably would react a lot worse now. I don't know. It's just like, maybe I just know more about the world now, or I just have like a less optimistic view of the world now, but it seems less realistic to me this year than it did 2 years ago. So I don't know, that's kind of weird. I'm still really enjoying this book, mind you. Like, I think the character work is fantastic. I'm enjoying like just like the subtle sci-fi elements that it has to it. I say subtle, but it's a sci-fi book. Like it's legitimately a sci-fi book, but it has themes that are not really related to sci-fi, that are like modern contemporary themes that I really like, specifically having to do with like social media and things like that, which I really enjoy. And it's also a deeply political book, which I also really, really enjoy. So yeah, I'm really enjoying this one so far. Okay, so it's Thursday, June 4th, and earlier today I finished An Absolutely Remarkable Thing by Hank Green. So I loved every single thing about this book. Mind you, this is a reread for me, so I knew I was gonna love everything about this book because I had previously read it and absolutely loved it. April May is just a fun character. I love her as a character. I love her story. I like that she's a flawed personality, but still incredibly lovable, even though she makes a lot of mistakes. I think she learns a lot as well. I like all of these sci-fi aspects of this book, as well as the fact that it's very mysterious in ways. And even though we never quite get to like an answer of why this happened, I don't really think it's necessary in this first book because I feel like we got so much more from this book than I ever expected going into it, especially when it comes to politics. I absolutely love the politics in this book. This book was just a gem, and I'm so excited to read the sequel that's coming out next month, which is A Beautifully Foolish Endeavor. Like, the ending of this book actually makes me super, super excited for it. So I'm really happy that I decided to read this book, and I'm really excited to read the second book. And I ended up giving this one 5 stars again. And I do plan on buying this book. Like, I want a copy of it. I don't know why I haven't bought a copy of it yet. So I've been making progress in Blood Song by Anthony Bryan. I haven't really mentioned anything, and that's because I really don't have that much to say. Like, I've been reading it pretty much every day, and I'm almost done with it. I'm right there. So, like, there's not much left in this book right now. I don't know how I feel, because, like, in some ways, like, this book is great. Like, I can't find a single thing that I don't like about this book. I like the characters, I like the plot, I like the world building, I like the writing style, I like some of the themes that it introduced, I like the atmosphere of this novel. It has such an inviting atmosphere, while at the same time it has very brilliant writing and imagery and things like that that I really like. But I don't love any of it, if that makes sense. Like, I like everything. I can't find a single flaw of something that I don't like, but I don't love anything either. So, like, going into this book, I was just like, this book is gonna be great because there's not a single thing I don't like about it. It's just good. I don't know how to explain that. Like, it's not bad at all. Like, there's nothing wrong with this book. It's arguably very good. But there's nothing that makes me go, oh my gosh, this book is amazing. You know what I mean? I don't know. I don't know if it's just me right now, because getting back into that nostalgic kind of feeling that I want to read something nostalgic, or like if I'm missing something. I don't know. If you've read this book, let me know in the comments, because I was really expecting to like this book a lot more than I have. Maybe the ending will change my mind about that. Maybe there's gonna be something about the ending that I absolutely love. We'll see. But so far, I'm enjoying this book, and I'm still hopeful that it could be a favorite of mine. But as of right now, it's just a good book, not yet a great book. And lastly, I have been making progress on Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire. And by progress, I mean I read 2 chapters over the last week, which is not necessarily my goal. My goal is about like a chapter a day, so I'm a bit slower than I'm supposed to be reading this book, but it's okay. I have till the end of June to finish my annotation / reread of Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire, so it's fine. And because I read 2 chapters, I have some illustrations for you guys. Okay, so we last left off here at chapter 22, The Unexpected Task. So this is gonna be the Yule Ball, in case you were wondering. Well, the first thing we have here is a house elf cleaning, because the house elves go crazy cleaning all of Hogwarts for the Yule Ball. Then we have this portrait of Ginny, which I actually really love Jenny in this scene. One, I love the illustration, but in this scene, this is the scene where Harry and Ron, they decide that they're gonna have partners for the Yule Ball before they get home that day. So in the scene, Harry walks in and Ron is like being consoled by Ginny because he just asked Fleur Delacour to the ball, and of course, like, she wasn't gonna say yes to him. But I think the reason why I like Ginny in this scene so much, you know how she feels because of all of the buildup from the previous books, that she has this crush on Harry. Her reaction to Harry mentioning that he asked Cho out is just priceless. And then also, just after that, Ron asks Jenny to go with Harry to the ball, and she kind of has to say, no, she already said she would go with Neville. And that whole section is just like bittersweet in some ways, because like, one, we love Neville. Of course we want Jenny to go with Neville, but at the same time, she just had the chance to go with the person that she really wants to go with, and she can't do it, and it's bittersweet because of that. In case you're wondering, I'm a pretty big fan of Harry and Jenny. Anyways, I really like the scene because of that, and it's a great illustration. So next we have chapter 23, the Yule Ball. Again, we have another Hogwarts elf. I think he's cooking. And then we actually have an illustration of the Yule Ball. And I'm not gonna lie, I actually don't like this illustration that much. And I think the reason I don't like it is because we get all of these beautiful descriptions of everyone and what they're wearing, and yet in this illustration, almost no one is recognizable. Like, that might be Draco and Pansy Parkinson, I'm not sure. And in the corner, that looks like Ron. But other than that, like, maybe that's Victor Crumb, but that's not Hermione. At least that doesn't look like Hermione, and it's not how she was described. Like, Harry is not on here. Pavardi, his date to the Yule Ball, is not on here. So I don't know, it's weird. I really wish that we had more people that were actually recognizable in this picture rather than just random people that we don't know. And that's all the illustrations. So there were really only 2 illustrations in those 2 chapters, which is less than I could hope for, but it's still not bad. I will say, I'm not enjoying my reread of The Goblet of Fire as much as I wanted to. Part of it is just like, I just finished Prisoner of Azkaban while I was in a reading high, and I was loving pretty much everything that I was reading. Prisoner of Azkaban is my favorite Harry Potter book, and now I'm not in a reading high. I wouldn't say I'm in a slump. I'm definitely not in a slump, but I'm not liking everything that I'm reading right now. In fact, I'm more inclined to dislike what I'm reading right now. Goblet of Fire is not one of my favorite Harry Potter books. Like, if I'm ranking the Harry Potter books based off of my enjoyment of them, not how like actually brilliant they are, but just my enjoyment of them, it would probably be Prisoner of Azkaban, Half-Blood Prince, Deathly Hallows, Order of the Phoenix, then Goblet of Fire, Sorcerer's Stone, and Chamber of Secrets. I don't even fully count Sorcerer's Stone and Chamber of Secrets, so if I didn't count those, Goblet of Fire would be like basically my least favorite. But it's one of my least favorite Harry Potter books, even though I really like Goblet of Fire. Like on a regular day, Goblet of Fire would be one of my favorite books of all time. Actually, it is one of my favorite books of all time because I love the Harry Potter series. It's one of my favorite series of all time. But it's not one of my favorite books within the series. So it's kind of like one of those things where like I just compare my reading experience to some of the other books in the series, and I just like that more. So I'm like nostalgic for the feeling that the other books give me that I'm not fully getting from Goblet of Fire, even though Goblet of Fire is still arguably fantastic. So yeah, I'm just being whiny is what's happening right now. Okay, so it's Saturday, June 3rd, and I want to start out with Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire. So I am liking this reread a lot more now than I was earlier in this week. I read another 3 chapters in this. Right now, I think I'm just in that nostalgic mood where all I want to do is sit down and reread Harry Potter. So I actually might do that later today. But since I recently missed an upload for you guys, I want to get this vlog uploaded for you guys today so that you guys have a video today and I don't miss another upload, because apparently I'm really bad at planning, because I knew I was gonna have to work Thursday and Friday of this week, which I don't typically do, and I didn't plan ahead. So that's usually when I film videos for the end of the week, but I didn't film videos last week for Thursday and Saturday, even though I knew I wasn't gonna have time to. So I'm sorry about missing my Thursday upload, but I do have 3 chapters worth of illustrations for you guys in Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire. So we last left off on chapter 24, Rita Skeeter's Scoop. We have this gorgeous landscape illustration. I absolutely love this one. This one kind of came out of nowhere because there's not really anything about this chapter other than there's some descriptions of like the wintry scene at Hogwarts, and we get to see like the lake, the Durmstrang ship, as well as the Hogwarts castle in the background, and I absolutely love this illustration. Then we have chapter 25, The Egg and the Eye, which apparently didn't have any illustrations. I didn't realize that till just now. But I also have chapter 26, The Second Task. I love the background of this page. Like, it's one of my favorite chapter pages because I think it just goes really well with the theme, and I love it when there's illustrations behind the words. So the first illustration we have in this chapter is of Harry after he takes the gillyweed and is in the lake. It's really dark, but I like this one. And then we have an illustration of the mer people. Oh my gosh, they're so ugly. I think I like the mer people in the movie better than the description here in the book and the illustration in the book. The movie mer people, even though they're also ugly, I like them better than this one. And then again, we have Harry again in the lake. Actually, that's not Harry. That's Victor Crumb when he like half transfigures himself into a shark. And then we have Harry trying to save Ron and Gabrielle, which is Fleur Delacour's little sister. I actually really like this one. It's a little bit lighter than the other lake illustrations, but you still have creepy mermaid man over here. Oh, and it turns out I read a 4th chapter, so we also have chapter 27, Padfoot Returns. Over here we have an owl because Harry and Sirius obviously talk to each other via owl, though that really looks like Hedwig, even though like they don't use Hedwig because she's too recognizable. Potter stinks. Actually, this particular scene I absolutely love. It's one of the few scenes where Snape is hilarious. There's the article in which weekly in which Rita Skeeter talks about the non-existent love triangle between Harry, Hermione, and Victor Crumb, and Snape reads it to the class, and I can just imagine Snape's voice from the movie reading an article like that to the class. It's fantastic, and I found myself laughing out loud as I was reading this section. And that's all I have for you guys right now. So yeah, I know I said that I'd wait till like the end of June to finish this book, but I can definitely see it happening before then because there's really not that much left in it. I also did finish a book this morning I'm a little bittersweet about. Well, I think you need some context for this because in the past I've been in many reading slumps, and one of my biggest reading slumps, I read a lot of books that I really hated at the time, or just not just hated, but just didn't like at the time, that later on I gave a second try to, and I really loved them. 2 of those books were Assassin's Apprentice by Robin Hobb and The Blade Itself by Joe Abercrombie, which are the first books in the Realm of the Elderling series and the First Law series, both of which are 2 of my favorite series of all times, and Robin Hobb and Joe Abercrombie are now 2 of my favorite authors of all time. And I absolutely love these books now, but the first time I read them, I was in one of the most major reading slumps of my life, and I remember remember reading these and thinking that they were arguably good books and that I loved the writing, and it was like the writing that actually pushed me through these books and made me like them, but I was really detached from the story itself. And while these aren't my favorite books in those series, I still really love them now, and those are some of my favorite series, especially some of the later books in these series. And this morning I finished Blood Song by Anthony Ryan, and when I finished it, I got similar feelings, almost deja vu sort of feelings, to back when I had first read Assassin's Apprentice and The Blade itself, because I feel the exact same way about Blood Song as I did about those books the first time that I read it. I think the writing is beautiful, and I really like the author's writing style, and I feel like that is really what pushed me through this book. There was not a single second where I wanted to stop reading it or anything like that. There's nothing about this book that I don't like, but I feel very detached from the story. While I think I liked every part of this book, there's nothing in this book that attaches me so much to it that I want to continue on with the next book, which is how I felt about those other books back then. And I decided not to continue on with those stories until last year when I decided to give them both a second chance. And now they're two of my favorite series of all time. So like right now, how I'm feeling, I wouldn't continue on with this series. But at the same time, because it's giving me those vibes, I kind of want to. I don't know, that's kind of weird, right? I feel like this is a book that upon reread, I'm gonna like it a lot more. And I also feel like the next few books in this series, I could potentially like more because of the way the author writes, and that having read those books, I'll like this book more, if that makes sense. I don't know, like right now, I'm giving this book 4 stars because I legitimately can't find anything I don't like about this book. And in that case, like I can't give it anything less than 4 stars, but at the same time, I'm very detached from it. So yeah, that's how I'm feeling right now about this. I'm giving it 4 stars. I do plan on continuing on with this series, probably not within the next month or so. I think I want to wait until I'm in more of a reading high where I'm liking a lot more of what I'm currently reading. And I think in that sort of mood, I'll end up loving this series. But right now, I'm just not in the right mind frame for it. So I'm giving this book 4 stars, but I do think it's one that could potentially be amazing if I was in a better mood. So to summarize what I did this week, I ended up finishing 4 books. The first one was One Day in December by Josie Silvers. This is an adult romantic contemporary. It was fun and cute and I liked it, and I ended up giving it 4 stars. Then we have Misery by Stephen King, and this book is probably more gruesome and terrifying than it is enjoyable, but it is also brilliant, and I ended up giving this one 3.75 stars. Then I did my reread of An Absolutely Remarkable Thing by Hank Green, which is just a phenomenal book with lovable characters. It's so uplifting while at the same time it is grounded in the realities of this world and the politics, and I absolutely loved it as much as I did the first time around, and I ended up giving it 5 stars. And of course we have Blood Song by Anthony Ryan, which I wanted to like a lot more than I ended up actually liking, but I still think it's a good book, and I ended up giving it 4 stars. So if you've read any of these books, let me know down in the comments because I would love to discuss with you guys. I post videos on Sundays, Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays, so consider subscribing. I also post bonus videos, so if you want to be notified as soon as I upload, you can click that little bell icon. If you like this video, please give it a big thumbs up to support my channel. All social media links are in the description down below. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.